Everyone wants success until they realize what it costs. You want freedom, wealth, growth, and respect, but the price tag says discipline, sacrifice, and consistency. Most people quit when it gets hard. The successful ones keep going even when they don't feel like it. The harsh truth is this: if you're waiting to feel ready, you'll wait your entire life. There comes a point in life when you must make a decision. Not the kind you talk about, but the kind you act on. Everyone dreams, plans, and talks about change, but only a few ever force themselves into the uncomfortable actions that success demands. You see, success doesn't arrive when conditions are perfect. It comes when you push through imperfection. It's easy to dream when you're inspired. It's easy to plan when you're motivated. But when life gets heavy, when the body says, stop, and the mind says, tomorrow, that's when the real battle begins. If you ever want to reach your potential, you must stop negotiating with your excuses, because every successful person you admire didn't wake up motivated every day. They woke up responsible. They did it tired. They did it scared. They did it unsure, but they did it. So, if you've ever wondered why your goals feel stuck, why progress seems slow, or why others seem to move faster, it's not because they're luckier. It's because they forced themselves to take action when others waited to. Feel right. That's why you need to hear this speech until the end. Because today, I'll show you how to train your mind to stop waiting for motivation and start creating momentum. Dreams are powerful things. They begin as whispers in the back of your mind, images of a better life, moments of freedom, achievement, peace, or purpose. They start small, like sparks, but inside those sparks lives the fire that can change everything. Every great achievement in history began with a dream. Every business invention, speech, or transformation started when someone dared to imagine something better. But here's the truth most people miss. Dreams alone are cheap. They cost nothing to think about, nothing to imagine, nothing to post about. It's discipline that gives them life. Discipline is the bridge that carries those dreams out of your head and into the real world. When you set a goal, the excitement in the beginning is easy. You feel charged, motivated, ready to move mountains. But that feeling fades faster than you expect. The moment the early morning alarm rings, the moment you realize progress is slower than you thought, the motivation disappears. That's when discipline steps in. Discipline doesn't ask if you're in the mood. It doesn't care if the weather is perfect or if you slept well. It simply asks, will you do what you said you would do? And that question separates those who dream from those who achieve. Think about the person who gets up every morning to run, not because they love the pain, but because they've decided their health matters more than their comfort. Or the entrepreneur who works late into the night, not because it's fun, but because they see something no one else sees. Discipline isn't glamorous. It's quiet, consistent, sometimes boring, but it builds the foundation on which success stands. When others are celebrating small distractions, discipline keeps you focused on your direction. When others slow down, discipline keeps your engine running. People often ask, how do I stay motivated? That's the wrong question. You don't stay motivated, you stay committed. Motivation is like a guest that visits when things are exciting. Discipline is the roommate that never leaves. The ones who make it to the top didn't have endless motivation. They simply built the habit of showing up regardless of how they felt. Every time you show up when you don't feel like it, you train your mind to obey your decisions, not your emotions. That's the power that turns ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. The first step is always the hardest. The bed feels warm, the couch feels inviting, and your mind whispers that you can start tomorrow. But discipline answers that whisper with action. It says, no, we start today. And once you take that first step, the resistance begins to fade. Discipline has a momentum of its own. Each act of effort makes the next one easier. Over time, what was once hard becomes your new normal. You become the kind of person who follows through, and that changes everything about your identity. Discipline builds confidence. Not the kind of confidence that comes from praise or applause, but the kind that comes from self-trust. When you keep promises to yourself, you learn that you can depend on your own word. You stop doubting your ability to execute. You stop hesitating. And soon, you stop needing external approval because you already know what you're capable of. Every time you complete a task, no matter how small, you reinforce a powerful message. I do what I say I'll do. That's how self-respect grows. That's how winners are built, from within, not from recognition, but from repetition. The beauty of discipline is that it doesn't care where you start. You can begin late, you can begin slow, you can begin scared. Discipline will still meet you there. It asks only for one thing: consistency. One small act done daily is more powerful than a burst of enthusiasm that dies in a week. 1 hour of focused effort every day builds more strength than 10 hours of scattered effort once a month. That's why successful people seem to move faster. They've trained discipline to work quietly behind the scenes, while the rest of the world waits for motivation to strike. There will always be a war inside you, the war between what's easy and what's right. The easy path will always look tempting. It's comfortable, it's familiar, and it demands nothing. But the easy path gives you nothing in return. The disciplined path is different. It demands your time, your focus, your energy. It asks you to do hard things again and again. But in return, it gives you mastery. It gives you progress. It gives you the ability to look at your life and know that you earned every inch of what you have. Discipline doesn't remove struggle. It redirects it. The pain you feel while being disciplined is the pain of growth. It's the soreness after the gym, the fatigue after the extra hour of work, the quiet frustration of learning something new. But all those small pains are proof that you're stretching your limits. That's what growth feels like. It's uncomfortable because you're becoming someone stronger. Without that discomfort, there's no transformation. Discipline invites you to choose short-term discomfort for long-term freedom. If you ever wonder why some people seem unstoppable, it's not luck. It's the way they handle the voice in their head that says, "I don't feel like it." They hear that voice and they act anyway. That's what separates the average from the exceptional. Everyone feels resistance. Everyone wants to quit sometimes. The difference is what happens next. Discipline says, "I don't negotiate with my excuses." That one choice, repeated daily, builds a life most people only dream about. Think about the strongest people you know. They aren't always the loudest or the most talented. They're the ones who decided that no matter what happens, they'll keep showing up. They've trained themselves to move forward even when things don't go their way. That's the kind of power you build when you live with discipline. You begin to trust your process more than your feelings. You start valuing consistency over perfection. You stop waiting for inspiration and start acting from intention. Discipline turns chaos into clarity. It gives structure to your time, direction to your goals, and rhythm to your progress. When you operate with discipline, you don't have to wonder what to do. You already know. You don't waste time debating your effort. You've already decided it's non-negotiable. That's how you create momentum that doesn't fade when life gets busy. Discipline becomes the silent engine that keeps your dream alive even when everything else slows down. The greatest thing discipline gives you is freedom. The freedom to control your life, your choices, your destiny. Most people think discipline limits freedom, but it's the opposite. Without discipline, you're a prisoner to moods, distractions, and temptations. With discipline, you're in charge. You decide when to act, how to think, and what to prioritize. You stop being reactive and start being deliberate. That's when life begins to bend toward your will. Discipline is not about being harsh on yourself. It's about loving yourself enough to demand more. It's a form of respect for your potential. When you practice discipline, you're saying, "I believe in who I can become." That belief, backed by consistent action, changes the course of your life. It's not about perfection. It's about persistence. Some days you'll stumble. Some days you'll fall behind. But discipline doesn't require flawless effort. It only requires you to return. Every act of discipline plants a seed for your future. Some seeds take months, others take years, but they all grow if you keep watering them. Most people quit before the harvest. They stop just before things start working. Discipline keeps you in the game long enough to see results. It teaches you patience. It teaches you endurance. It reminds you that real success is not built overnight. It's built every morning, every decision, every repetition. And that's why dreams without discipline stay dreams, because only discipline can carry the weight of your potential. It's the force that takes your imagination and gives it form. That turns your words into action, your effort into progress, your vision into victory. Motivation is a beautiful spark, but it burns out fast. It gives you a rush, a feeling of energy that convinces you you're ready to change your life. But that feeling never lasts. One day you wake up excited, the next you wake up tired, unmotivated, uninterested. You start to question yourself. You start to wonder if you've lost it. The truth is, you didn't lose your passion. You just lost the temporary emotion that got you started. That's why you can't depend on motivation to build anything meaningful. If you want success to last, you must build something stronger than emotion. You must build systems and habits that keep working even when you don't feel like it. Motivation is like the wind. It's unpredictable. Some days it pushes you forward. Other days it disappears completely. But discipline, structure, and systems are like the engine of a train. They move no matter what the weather looks like. The people who succeed at the highest levels understand this. They don't wake up every day waiting for inspiration to strike. They build routines that make action automatic. They remove the need to choose every morning. They make the decision once, and then they live by that decision daily. When you rely on motivation, every day becomes a negotiation. You wake up and your mind starts debating, should I work out today? Should I study? Should I work on that goal? And every time you debate, you open the door to excuses. Systems close that door. Habits silence the debate. If your system says, at 6 a.m., I exercise, there's no discussion. You just do it. And the beauty of that consistency is that it builds momentum. Action creates clarity. Each repetition strengthens your commitment, slowly. The process replaces the feeling. You stop waiting for the right mood, and you start moving out of habit. It's easy to be motivated when things are new. Everyone is motivated on day one. The new plan, the new gym, the new business. All of it feels exciting. But real growth starts when the excitement fades. That's the point where most people stop because they think the feeling was supposed to stay forever. They don't realize that motivation was just the match that lit the fire. Habits are the wood that keeps it burning. When you understand that, you stop chasing the spark and start tending the flame. Every habit you build is a piece of identity. When you make your bed every morning, it's not about the bed. It's about proving to yourself that you can start your day with order. When you read a book for 20 minutes, it's not about the pages. It's about feeding your mind consistently. When you show up to work on your dream for 1 focused hour, it's not about the clock. It's about keeping a promise. Each habit you repeat writes a line in the story of who you are becoming. Eventually, your actions and your identity merge, and you no longer have to force yourself. It becomes natural. Habits are built through repetition, not intensity. Most people fail because they try to do too much too fast. They want instant results, so they pour all their energy into the first few days. But that kind of energy is not sustainable. The body tires, the mind resists, and the enthusiasm fades. Success belongs to those who start small and stay consistent. 1 push-up done daily is more valuable than 100 done once. Reading 1 page every day builds more wisdom than reading a whole book in a weekend and forgetting it by Monday. Small, steady steps compound over time. That's the secret most people ignore. Systems protect you from your weaker moments. There will be days when you're tired, frustrated, or distracted. But if you've built a system, your process carries you through. Think of a pilot. They don't rely on motivation to fly the plane. They follow a checklist. The checklist works whether they feel confident or not. That's how they stay consistent. That's what systems do for your goals. They replace emotional uncertainty with predictable action. The key is to make your environment work for you, not against you. If your goal is to eat healthy, don't rely on willpower to resist junk food. Remove it from your house. If your goal is to focus, keep your workspace clean and your phone out of reach. Your environment shapes your behavior more than your intentions do. Successful people don't fight temptation. They design their surroundings to make good decisions automatic. They make the path to productivity easy and the path to distraction difficult. That's how you win long term, by making success the natural choice. Another truth about systems is that they remove the emotional weight of decision making. Every decision costs energy. If you wake up every day deciding what to do, what to eat, when to start, you'll be exhausted before you begin. Systems save that energy. When your actions are scheduled, when your habits are clear, you no longer spend energy deciding. You spend it executing. That shift turns you from a thinker into a doer. You stop analyzing your goals and start living them. There's a powerful moment that happens after enough consistency. The moment when the habit becomes who you are. You no longer say, I'm trying to work out. You say, I'm a person who works out. You don't say, I'm trying to be disciplined. You say, I'm disciplined. That identity shift is the real transformation. You no longer have to push yourself as much because your actions and your self-image are aligned. That's the point where success becomes inevitable because it's not just something you do, it's something you are. Still, the process takes patience. Systems don't bring overnight results. They build slow, steady progress that compounds over time. That's why most people never experience the reward. They quit too early. They expect visible change after a week. But systems work like planting seeds. You water them daily, and for a while, nothing happens. But below the surface, roots are forming. Habits take time to grow strong enough to show results. The key is to trust the process even when you can't see it working. When motivation fades, and it will, you must remember that feelings are temporary, but results are permanent. Every small, disciplined action you take adds another brick to the foundation of your future. The structure you build through habits will support you when motivation fails. That's why systems matter so much. They keep you standing when your emotions collapse. They keep you moving when your mind wants to quit. The truth is, successful people aren't special. They just understand how to use their time. They automate what matters. They schedule what counts. They make it harder to fail than to succeed. They don't wait to feel inspired. They design their days to make progress unavoidable. That's how greatness is built. It's not about energy bursts or perfect timing. It's about predictable patterns that produce predictable results. If you study anyone who's achieved mastery in their field, athletes, artists, leaders, they all live by structure. Their days have rhythm. Their habits are deliberate. Their routines are sacred. They don't rely on excitement to keep going. They rely on consistency. And because they've built that rhythm, they can perform even when the world around them feels chaotic. That's the power of systems. They create stability in an unstable world. Every morning you follow your plan. Every night you complete your checklist. You strengthen the system that supports your dream. Over time, it becomes easier. What once required effort becomes effortless. What once felt forced becomes natural. Your brain learns, your body adapts, and your identity evolves. You no longer chase motivation, you move through momentum. You no longer ask, should I? Because the answer is already built into your life. That's the beauty of turning motivation into structure. You stop being a slave to moods and start being the architect of habits. You realize that you don't need to feel good to do good. You just need to do. And the doing brings the feeling back eventually. Systems turn chaos into progress, confusion into clarity, and potential into performance. They remind you that success isn't about one grand act. It's about the daily repetition of the small right ones. Every person faces two kinds of pain in life, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. You can't escape pain, you only get to choose which kind you live with. Discipline is the pain that weighs ounces. It's the sting of effort, the discomfort of sacrifice, the H of doing what must be done, even when it's inconvenient. Regret, on the other hand, weighs tons. It's the heavy realization that time has passed and opportunity has been wasted. It's the quiet sadness of knowing you could have been more, done more, achieved more, if only you had been willing to pay the smaller price earlier. The truth is, life will always demand payment. You either pay now through discipline, or you pay later through regret, and the second bill always costs more. Discipline asks you to suffer for progress. It asks you to push through early mornings, long hours, and moments of doubt. But the pain of regret asks you to suffer for nothing. It gives you no growth, no reward, no satisfaction. It's a pain that lingers and whispers, "What if?" for the rest of your life. When you choose discipline, the pain is temporary, but the result is lasting. When you choose comfort, the pleasure is temporary, but the regret is permanent. That's the trade-off every person must understand. Think about the student who chooses to study a few extra hours each night while others sleep. The pain of discipline is there. Fatigue, sacrifice, focus. But years later, that same student walks across the stage with pride, prepared for a future they built with their own hands. Then think about the one who skipped effort, who told themselves, "I'll start later." When later comes, they realize the opportunity has passed. That's regret. The student who disciplined themselves carried pain for a season. The one who avoided it carries pain for a lifetime. Discipline hurts in the moment, but regret haunts in memory. The workout you avoid today becomes the weakness you feel tomorrow. The savings you skip this year becomes the financial pressure you feel later. The words of love, forgiveness, or courage you fail to speak become the silence that echoes in your heart for years. Every act of avoidance builds the weight of regret. Every act of effort lightens the future. That's why success demands you choose your pain wisely. Discipline has a strange relationship with time. In the beginning, it feels like it slows you down. You sacrifice comfort today for something unseen. You skip short-term pleasure to chase long-term peace. But in time, discipline gives back everything it took, multiplied. The pain of early mornings turns into the pride of progress. The hours spent learning become mastery. The money saved becomes freedom. But regret moves in the opposite direction. It feels easy now and cruel later. It gives comfort in the moment and pain when it's too late to fix it. Time magnifies both choices. Discipline compounds into results. Regret compounds into resentment. The hardest part about discipline is that it rarely feels rewarding at first. There's no instant applause for doing the right thing. No one cheers when you resist temptation or stay consistent. The rewards are delayed. You have to believe in results you can't yet see. That's why so many people quit. They can't stand the silence between effort and reward. But that silence is where greatness grows. Discipline is like planting a seed. You dig the ground, place it carefully, cover it with soil, and then you wait. For weeks, there's nothing visible. But under the surface, roots are forming. That's what daily discipline does for your life. It builds roots. Regret, on the other hand, leaves the soil untouched. It gives you the illusion of rest while time passes, and when you finally return, the ground is hard, the season has changed, and the chance is gone. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is feedback. It tells you you're moving. It tells you you're stretching past limits. When you lift a weight, your muscles burn because they're growing. When you learn something new, your brain feels tired because it's expanding. The same principle applies to life. The pain of discipline is not punishment, it's transformation. Every time you resist laziness, every time you overcome fear, you're building strength you'll need later. Regret, however, is the pain of staying weak. It's the H that comes from never using your potential. One kind of pain builds you, the other breaks you. There's a reason why disciplined people appear calm and confident. They've faced discomfort and learned that it doesn't destroy them. They've learned to do hard things when no one is watching. That resilience shows in their posture, in their decisions, in their results. They've built self-respect through repeated endurance. Regretful people, on the other hand, carry invisible weight. They're haunted by the thought that they could have been more. Their confidence erodes because deep down, they know they avoided the hard path. That's the cruel part of regret. It attacks your belief in yourself. Every decision you make moves you toward one pain or the other. You either take the small pain of effort now or the large pain of remorse later. Skip the workout, skip the study session, skip the opportunity. It feels harmless today. But one day, you'll look back and see how those small choices added up. Life doesn't shout at you when you make those decisions. It whispers. It says, "It's okay, just this once." But those whispers accumulate into silence filled with regret. Discipline whispers too. It says, "Not now, but later." It says, "Do what's right, not what's easy." And those whispers accumulate into strength, pride, and peace. The people who achieve lasting success don't have fewer distractions. They've just learned to prioritize differently. They've chosen the pain of staying focused over the comfort of wasting time. They've chosen to invest in their growth rather than indulge in temporary pleasure. They've accepted that the short-term hurt of saying no to temptation is worth the long-term satisfaction of achievement. You see them living with energy and purpose, but what you don't see are the countless moments they chose discipline when no one was watching. There's a false belief that successful people are naturally motivated or fearless. In reality, they just understand the math of pain. They know the price of regret is always higher than the price of discipline. They know that temporary struggle builds permanent strength. They know that one day they'll either feel the pain of progress or the pain of wishing they had started sooner. And they'd rather sweat now than suffer later. Imagine looking back 5 years from now. You'll either say, "I'm glad I started," or "I wish I had." That one sentence defines everything. Time passes whether you act or not. The calendar doesn't wait for motivation. The only thing you can control is whether you fill that time with effort or excuses. The pain of discipline makes you tired at night, but proud in the morning. The pain of regret keeps you awake at night and bitter in the morning. It's easy to choose comfort in the present because the cost of discipline is immediate, and the cost of regret is delayed. But life collects every debt. Every skipped effort eventually sends its bill. And when that day comes, there's no refund, no redo, no second chance to buy back the time you lost. That's why wise people learn to pay early. They accept short-term discomfort as the down payment for long-term peace. There's a simple truth hidden in every story of success somewhere. Someone endured pain while others avoided it. Someone practiced while others rested. Someone studied while others scrolled. Someone prepared while others procrastinated. And when the moment of opportunity arrived, that person was ready. The rest felt regret. Life will always test who's willing to bear the smaller pain today for the larger reward tomorrow. Discipline also gives meaning to your struggle. When you suffer for a purpose, your pain feels lighter because it's attached to progress. When you suffer from regret, your pain feels heavier because it carries no reward. You can cry in the gym or cry in frustration later. You can sweat through growth or ache through disappointment. Both hurt, but one moves you closer to who you want to be. Every act of discipline is a vote for your future self. Every act of laziness is a vote for your regretful self. Each day, you cast those votes without realizing it. You can't avoid the ballot. Life forces you to choose. The only question is, who are you voting for today? The version of you that pushes through the discomfort, or the version of you that sits in the shadow of what could have been? Because in the end, both will exist. One will live in satisfaction, and the other will live in sorrow.